Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone. Welcome to the third and final webinar for the facilitated e-learning course on using administrative data for statistics production. My name is Jessica Rosales, statistician lecturer here at the Statistical Institute for Asia and the Pacific, and I will be your moderator for today. Let me share a few housekeeping announcements before the most awaited group photo. All webinar sessions are being recorded. The recording and presentation materials will be shared to you tomorrow through the CIAP e-learning portal. There were some questions during the first webinar that were answered by our expert through in writing, and we will upload those Q&A as well in the e-learning portal. Second, we have disabled your microphone and camera to facilitate the flow of today's discussion. We will enable your cameras later for the group photo after these housekeeping announcements. We encourage you, however, to interact with us and with the resource persons through the chat box. So you can type in your questions anytime during the webinar. Facilitators and the presenters will respond to your questions during the Q&A session. And the closed caption option has been made available if you want to visually follow the discussions. Click on the three dots or ellipses on the top of the menu bar, select language and speech, and then turn on the live captions. And in today's webinar, we will start with the group photo. So may I ask everyone to please turn on your cameras. And we will ask our colleague Juan Lee to take a photo of everyone. So please turn on your cameras if it's enabled now. And please, I think a lot of people are still trying to fix themselves. And I'll count to 5, and please hold your smiles. Show me your beautiful smile, and please keep those on hold. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Camera is disabled. I think we've enabled a lot of all of the cameras now. But this is being recorded, sir. You will still be able to see your photo once you've turned on your camera, even at a later stage. A lot of people have been saying that the camera has been disabled. Let me give you 5. Let's do one more round, I guess, of photo, if that's okay, Juan. I'll count. Yes, it's working. It's working for some. I can see. I can see it in the gallery view. Okay, I'll just count again to 5. So for those with the cameras on, please hold your smile, and we'll take photos from our end. Okay, 1, 2.
Still waiting, please.
Okay. Juan, can you give us a go signal if we're ready?
Yes, ready.
Okay, ready. 1, 2, 3, 4. Everyone, please smile. Okay, thank you very much. And I'm sorry for the rest of the participants who were not able to join. But the recording will be made available tomorrow. Okay, so that we stick to our schedule, we'll do an overview of the course and recap of modules 5 and 6. And then we have invited 2 experts, Yao Lip Tan from the Singapore Department of Statistics and Afsana Yazdani of SCAP to provide substantive presentations focusing on the 2 topics, modules 5 and 6, data sharing arrangements and formalities, as well as data linking, interoperability, and open data. After that, we'll move to a Q&A segment to address those those questions that have been raised in the chat box. Before we conclude, we do have some final reminders on about the e-learning course. So now we are on the third week with modules 5 and 6 already available. I hope everyone had a chance to go through the online materials. Next week, we will open the exam and course wrap up. And if you would allow me a few minutes of your time, I'll just do a quick recap of modules 5 and 6 before we turn the floor over to our experts. So in module 5, you can recall that it covered data sharing arrangements and formalities. It started with what is statistical legal framework and how laws and regulations govern statistical production that would shape data sharing. It also touches upon the interactions of statistical laws and regulations with other laws such as transparency law or maybe the personal data protection acts in your countries. We also keep in mind that other laws would not necessarily undermine the statistical law and vice versa. The module also covers key elements for the statistical legal framework that would ensure access to administrative data for statistical production, as well as keeping the trust of data providers regarding confidentiality. National statistical authorities can concretize data sharing arrangements with data providers through formal and non-formal arrangements. The Collaborative on Administrative Data developed the guidance and template for developing these arranged agreements. And the template identified several essential components as shown in the slide. For the sake of time, we won't go through the elements anymore because the online module actually gives us a very detailed description of these. As underscored in Module 5, trust of data providers is imperative for data sharing to work. And underlying this trust is the ability of the National Statistical System to keep data protected. So Module 6 touches upon some techniques in order to keep data protected. So it includes some anonymization techniques on securing individual records, as well as privacy-enhancing technologies that reduces internal and external risks. Once data security has been set or enhanced, raw administrative data would still have to be adjusted or aligned so that it's fit for use for official statistics. So interoperability is facilitated through data management and governance, defining clear metadata, having a consistent classification across agencies or offices, and using a common language or vocabulary, as well as standardizing the interface so that the system in one agency can interact with the system in another. The sixth module also speaks about some methods to link the data, such as exact matching or synthetic or group matching. So we encourage everyone. So these two slides are just a very, very broad recap. And we encourage everyone to go through the online materials. If there are additional questions, please post a message in the discussion forum and we'll get back to you on that. To speak about more about the practical experiences in data sharing, we have invited resource persons from the NSO and international organization. And first and foremost, we have Yao Lip Tan, who works at the Singapore Department of Statistics, developing register-based socio-demographic statistical database. Through this work, Yao Lip helped enable Singapore to conduct its first register-based census in 2020. So I'll now turn the floor over to Yao Lip, to Esther. I'll stop sharing so that you can take control of the screen. Yeah, we can see your screen now.
Oh,
Yes.
okay, Ken. Thank you. Thank you for the introductions. I'm from Singapore Department of Statistics, and you will hear in short is DOS, DOS. I will keep repeating these words, DOS. Yeah. So I'll be sharing more on Module 5 on the data sharing arrangement that Department of Stats are currently doing. Yeah, so this is the outline. Before I go into the topics, I'll give you a bit of context and overview on what Singapore Department of Stats is doing. And I will share a bit more on the data sharing and products and services that we have offered, followed by the technical, a bit of technical details, for instance, the technical platforms and some of the standards and best practices that we have adopted. And the next is the who we work with on the topic of engagement and partnership. And lastly, what are the key challenges that we encountered in the use of the admin data, and what are the solutions that we have looked into? Yeah, so why admin data matters to Singapore? As we all know that most of the NSOs are using admin data rather than conducting survey as much as possible to reduce respondent burdens. So for Singapore, as of today, about 60% of the stats are already using admin data. So one of the large achievement that Singapore has done is actually using admin data and conducted register-based census in 2000. So increasingly, we are using more and more admin data as part of the register-based census, and the last registered-based census was conducted in 2020. So a little bit of Singapore context. It's really a very small city-state with 6 million population, and it's also a very small area of 736 kilometers square. And this on the slide itself are the 3 key pillars that enable us to be effective in using and sharing of admin data. So in terms of legislation framework, Department of Statistics has 2 legal act. One is the Stats Act. I think it's quite common across NSO, and it empower the chief statisticians and even the directors of the research statistical units to collect data. And it also established this anonymized data set to be shared to public agency and approved researchers for analytical purpose. The recent act, which is the Public Sector Governance Act, in short, we call it PSGA. It allows sharing of individual and business data within government and for service delivery. I will touch on this a bit more in the subsequent slides. The second pillar is the Common Identification Code systems. Is very important as it allows admin data to be data fused together. And in terms of persons, we have the unique identification number. In terms of firms like businesses, we have the unique entity number. And in terms of addresses, we have the address that is in the standard format. So with these 3 common identifications code, it allows data sharing of administrative data. It allows administrative data sharing to be very effective. And lastly, the last pillar will be the reliable and up-to-date administrative register, meaning the source did has a quite up-to-date data for us to share. So at whole of government, we do have some framework in place where the government, the source agency has to comply with some standards for them to share data across agency. So a little bit on the PSGA, which I mentioned earlier. So in 2019, DOS was designated to be a trusted center for individual and business data to share individual and business administrative data within the government agency on the need basis under PSGA to facilitate data policy sharing and operations. So beside being a leading national statistics office, DOS role has also expanded to become WOG data sharing for policy analysis and planning with the establishment of DOS Trusted Center. In this slide, I'll be sharing a bit on the products and services that we have offered. We wanted to provide more self-service first data access to whole of government and even to public to the member of public as far as possible, be it sharing anonymized data set or admin data that is aggregated. So, from the perspective of data collection, processing, and integration, the admin data are shared through DOS Trusted Center. These are some of the examples of products and services. So beside DOS Trusted Center, we also share DICE. DICE is actually a classification tool that helps to recommend a few most appropriate classifications codes. So administrative source agency, if they collect for instance occupation data in text, they can make use of this DICE application to code the text data into the classification. So in terms of data analysis and compilation and advisory tools, we have AMAP. AMAP is an anonymized microdata access program, which provide anonymized data mainly to the government agency and also the approved academics. We have also analytic projects where the divisions will deep dive into specific subject matters across government agency to facilitate in the policy making. Next is the data dissemination platform. We have the Vista, and the Vista remote query is mainly for the government agency, where is in the forms of dashboard and also data set where government agency can onboard these services and self-help in the visualizations that they are keen to access. At the public platform, we have SingStat Table Builder API mobile apps. We also recently rolled out this Sandra, which is also an AI tools to facilitate in search of information from our SingStat website. We have lastly, we have another tool called BITE, mainly is a business insight tool for enterprises. And finally, we have the data capability tools, which is DOS Academy for whole of government, where whole of government can contribute materials in this academy platform to encourage sharing, statistical sharing knowledge, and also sharing of admin data, use of admin data. Okay, I will go into a bit of technical. So these are the examples of some of the standards and best practices that we adopted. For instance, as a NSO, we have established like Singapore standards of industry classification, occupation, education, and for instance, type of dwelling. So to encourage admin data, and also that to conform a standard so that data sharing is more easier. We also have this statistical best practices handbook, which has guidelines and best practices where the source agency, the government agency are encouraged to adopt these standards again to facilitate data sharing. At a larger level, at whole of government, in Singapore we have this called government instructional manual. Is basically best practices and guidelines for across Singapore government agency to adopt. So for instance, we have the data reference model where government agency are encouraged to adopt what are the types of informations to capture for metadata of data sets to facilitate admin data sharing. For another example would be agency is required to geotag all data sets. So again, to facilitate admin data sharing in terms of geographical aspects. Yeah. Currently we are moving into cloud environment. So for within government, sharing, we are moving into this called government on commercial cloud. So all government agency will be slowly moving into this cloud environment for data sharing. We have batch scheduled file-based integration sharing, and we have this data hive, which is built by one of the government agency to share the data from the DOS Trusted Center. In terms of public, we have DOS Data Lab, which is a lab to share for the researchers to come and access the AMAT program. And for member of public, another platform will be the SingStat Table Builder, where most of the data are in this table builder for the public to access. And we have this developer API in this SingStat Table Builder to automate the data exchange. So next, we'll move to engagement and partnership. We actively engage data user and data source agency. For instance, bilateral arrangement. So our chief statistician will hold annual bilateral meeting with agency. Mainly the data producer or sometimes the data, sometimes the policy agency, so that we can come together to discuss and collaborate further on data sharing. And we also have subject matter expertise working level discussion with agency, multilateral network. So we will have regular meetings with RSU. RSU is research statistical units that are in different government agency will come together to discuss statistical coordination methods and to improve the platform and environment on cross-sharing of best practices. Lastly, we will hold regular statistical training and sharing with at the whole of government level. So outside of Singapore government agency, we also engage actively with the public and with the private sectors to advance common interest in data sharing and data related topics. So in 2021, we also established this DOS advisory panel where we engage local and international experts in the field of statistics to guide DOS strategic directions among the changing data and technology landscape. So lastly, I will share a bit of key challenges and the solutions that we have looked into. So I think some of the key challenges are quite commonly encountered by some of you when you are using administrative data. So one of them will be the coverage issues, misaligned concepts, definition, and reference period of the ME datasets with statistical needs. To me, this is the most difficult challenge to resolve. We will try to engage agency to understand the limitations and alignment possibilities. The other alternative were to really explore complementary alternative data sources and see how best to compile the data with different sources together. Yeah. The next will be the standardization gaps. So different source agency may use different coding and classification. So we will promote the use of the DOS statistical standards, which I mentioned earlier, like Singapore statistical standards on industry occupation. Sometimes we will educate agency on how to do a proper record classification. So for instance, they may not have the expertise to classify some information according to the classification codes that we have. So we will come in and advise them accordingly. Yeah. And we also always encourage the source agency to store data as codes rather than text for efficient processing. The next one will be the data quality concerns. For instance, administrative error, business missing data, and data inconsistency. At our end, we will have quality monitoring in place. So, for instance, we will track validation trends and record consistency for each data run. We will also share such quality reports with the providers for joint problem solving. And real-time error identifications will be feedback to the source agency. And usually we will discuss and have a mutual understanding and a common ground on the quality expectation and constraints. Data format compatibility. So sometimes admin data may not be available in the structured and machine readable format. So we have to leverage on AI ML to extract and process unstructured data. Another factors will be system and capability readiness. As we get into more unstructured data, more advanced data, sometimes our statistical systems and officers may not be sufficient equipped for modern data processing demands. Yeah, so capability building of officers are very critical. Timeliness trade-off, meaning that sometimes source agency may need a bit more time to clean up their data and provide to us. But on the other hand, at our statistical production timeline, we may not able to wait for them to provide. So usually we will engage and talk with them to see what is their bottleneck, and we have to evaluate data loss implications on against the accelerated timeline that we need. Usually we will also step in to help them if they have difficulties, for instance, transfer methods, formats, or some data issues that they encounter. We probably will step in to see how best we can help them so that we can get the data earlier. Yeah, so this is the last slides which generalize the continuous improvement approach, where I think regular stakeholder engagement is very important. We need to actively engage the source agency, the importance of their data, and share with them the bigger picture on how their data are used at the whole of government agency in the policy making. We always want to create win-win situations where we could even help them to improve their data quality. Knowledge sharing and capacity building is also critical. So we do invite source agency to attend training and sharing on how to clean data, how we use the data. Yeah, that's the last slide, and thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, Yaolip. It was a very concise but actually very thorough presentation on Singapore DOS's experience. And I do have like a few key takeaways that DOS has really invested time and resources to set up the legal, the technical, and like I guess the internal processes and the external mechanisms, plus the technological systems in order to promote data sharing. And at the data level, it was not just about accessing data, but also making sure that there's a unified standard, metadata is clear, and that the agencies are encouraged to have a common format, data element format. And I think Singapore has really good best practices, because like you've also had set up some technical platforms so that that would really ease up the data sharing arrangements. And you're right, the challenges that you've highlighted might be similar across NSOs, and we already see a few questions here, and it was enlightening to see the solutions adopted by DOS that would actually inspire the other national statistical offices in thinking through their own challenges. But we'll keep the responses maybe later after the second presentation. This gives you also some time to read through the questions. Up next, we have invited as well Afsane Yazdani, a statistician in the Population and Social Statistics section of the Statistics Division at the Economic and Social Commission for Asia and the Pacific. She currently leads regional initiatives aimed at enhancing the use of administrative data for population census and data integration. Before joining ASCAP in 2018, Afsane spent over 2 decades at the Statistical Center of Iran, where she served in multiple capacities. She has extensive experience in official statistics with a focus on survey methodology, censuses, and register-based statistics. She holds both a bachelor's and a master's degree in statistics. Afsani, I'll turn the floor to you. You now have control of the stream.
Yeah, thank you so much, Anna, for introduction and hi everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I don't know wherever you are on the globe. Let me share my slides. Give me a second, please. It's coming. Sorry, my internet is a little bit slow, so I hope you can see my slides now.
Yes, we can see it in presenter view.
Okay, perfect. So if you don't mind, I turn off my camera because of my internet connection. So to make sure that we won't lose the internet in the middle of my presentation. Okay. It's really a great pleasure for me to have the opportunity to make this presentation. And in this presentation, we will discuss privacy, confidentiality, and security in the context of using administrative data for official statistics. Some of the issues I will discuss are overlapping somehow with what our colleague from Singapore already mentioned, and some of them you have already seen in your e-learning, but here we can have more discussion about the matters. So here in this presentation, we will look first at why these issues matter, how these are related to each other, and what practical approaches countries are using uh, as they are using more administrative data. Okay, so why this matters? As my colleague from Singapore already mentioned, and many of you may be from national statistical offices, so these days NSOs are constantly balancing and competing interests. We have people's right to privacy on one hand, and the need for granular, high-quality data for the good of society on the other. And when we use more admin data and we link more data sources, these trade-offs become sharper. What was once manageable when we only had our census and survey data, these days is becoming more sensitive when we are using other data sources as well. NSOs no longer operate in isolation. We now work in a complex national data ecosystem with government agencies, private actors, academia, and many more involved. New technologies create real opportunities, but they also introduce new risks. And at the heart of all of this is trust, what colleague from Singapore already mentioned. If people don't trust us, they won't share their data or they won't share accurate data. And the same thing applies to admin data holders. So the agencies, if they don't trust the NSO, they are reluctant to share their data with the NSO. Without trust, access to admin data will never happen. Before we start, before we continue, it is important to clearly separate these three concepts that are often mixed up. By privacy, we mean individuals' rights, how personal data can be used lawfully, fairly, and transparently. Confidentiality is more specific to official statistics. It is about how NSO protect the data entrusted to them and ensures it is only used for statistical purposes. And security refers to the technical and organizational measures that protect data from breaches, loss, and deletion. These are related, but they are not the same thing. And if we confuse them with each other, then we may have some gap in data protection. So the key message here in this slide is that these are distinct concepts, but they are interconnected. They should go together. As an example, we can have excellent IT security, but we still may have data misuse. And we can have strong legal mandate, but still we cannot handle the data securely. So effective data protection only happens when privacy, confidentiality, and security reinforce each other, and focusing on just one of them is never enough. From a legal perspective, NSOs are guided by several frameworks. The fundamental principles of official statistics, especially principle number 6, make confidentiality a cornerstone to official statistics. We also have statistical acts that are often aligned with these principles. At the same time, there are data protection laws in each country that applies across the whole public sector, and they can affect how admin data can be reused for statistical purposes. NSOs should align data protection laws with their established statistical confidentiality practices, especially when dealing with sensitive data. These frameworks need to work together, not in parallel. We have here example from Thailand, which is the country that I am based in. Here you can see Thailand Personal Data Protection Act, or PDPA, that sets overall rules for handling personal data. It applies to public sector organizations and emphasizes lawful use, transparency, and appropriate security safeguards. On the left of the page, you can see a link and a QR code through which you can access a website that contains the data protection laws of countries. And I suggest you take a look later. You can see in your country, and you can also, I think if I remember correctly, you can also compare different countries. Okay, admin data brings very specific challenges because this data is not originally collected for statistical purposes. It already increases sensitivity. It often contains identifiers and very detailed information about individuals. Consent mechanism may be limited or completely absent, and once data sets are linked, disclosure risks grow quickly. Admin data is often spread across multiple government agencies, and each agency has their own mandates and responsibilities, which makes the environment we are working inside it very complex. And all of these mean that as we rely more on admin data for official statistics, we need stronger safeguards to maintain public trust. One common misunderstanding is that confidentiality is mainly about what we publish. In reality, there are risks across the whole data lifecycle, from collection and transfer to linkage, processing, access, and dissemination. Here you can see the GSBPM, which is a generic statistical business process model. This defines a set of activities involved in producing official statistics and reflects the data cycle in the context of official statistics. GSBPM framework requires that privacy, security, and confidentiality be systematically addressed from legal confidentiality consideration to secure data protection, data collection, handling, processing, disclosure controls, and finally to control dissemination. To manage the risks, NSOs use a range of anonymization and disclosure control techniques. The goal is simple. We want to reduce the risk of identifying individuals while keeping the data useful. Removing direct identifiers is essential, but it is not enough. On the right side of the slide, you can see some of the famous anonymization techniques that I guess you already are familiar with them through the e-learning course. Here I pick one of these techniques that is recently gaining attention, which is the synthetic data. Synthetic data sets don't contain real individual records, but they still maintain key statistical patterns. Countries like Australia, New Zealand, and Canada, they are using synthetic data to support research, training, and testing. Here you can see a useful resource, and in this resource you can also learn more about these country experiences as well. And we also have an example of privacy enhancing technology from Indonesia. In this case study, mobile network data from 2 different mobile providers were used to generate tourism statistics. Data sharing by mobile providers was restricted by privacy provisions in their customer agreements, so they were not allowed to share the data. With the PETS approach, which is the privacy enhancing technology approaches, everything was encrypted and processed in secure environments, and only aggregated results were shared for analysis and producing tourism statistics. This shows that PETs can make what we had as too risky data usable without compromising individual privacy. And I have also shared the QR code to one resource on privacy enhancing technology that you can take a look afterwards. There are multiple approaches to address challenges related to protecting privacy, confidentiality, and security. Good practice always combines clear legal mandates, strong organizational culture and training, and appropriate technical solutions. And transparency is just as important. The public should be informed of how their data is used and protected. This is where the data governance plays a central role. Data governance is a decision rights, responsibilities, and accountability across institutions. It connects legal requirements, confidentiality commitments, and security safeguards into one coherent framework that helps countries both manage the risks and also maximize the value of their data. ESCAP has compiled data governance profiles for 20 countries. You can access them through the link and the QR code that I have shared here. Okay, from all the data governance profiles that I told you, we have 20 of them on ESCA website. I have chosen New Zealand to share with you. Stats New Zealand acts as the lead agency for government-held data and support safe data use across agencies. Access is limited to approved people for approved projects in secure setting, using safe data and producing safe outputs. And this is, sorry. This is called, sorry, just a second. I'm sorry, I, I just lost my voice. So this is called as 5 Safes framework. This technical framework is supported by ethical advice and cultural considerations, recognizing that trust is more than just following the technical rules. It means they have people and groups helping assess whether the data use is right and responsible, respecting cultural values, norms, and perspectives. And this is especially for indigenous communities. You can learn more about their data governance in the one-page profile that I mentioned is available on SCAP website. And we also, if I remember correctly, we also had the one for Singapore. And, and here is key takeaways from my presentation. Privacy, confidentiality, and security are distinct but interconnected concepts and must be considered together to ensure effective data protection. Data protection requires a combination of legal, organizational, and technical measures applied across the entire data lifecycle and not only at the dissemination. Trust is a fundamental asset of official statistics built on transparent and professional data handling and strong protection safeguards. It is difficult to restore if we lose it once. Privacy, confidentiality, and security are key to building trust across the National Statistical System and NSO's access to admin data for producing official statistics. And here I would like to share with you a few useful resources on statistical confidentiality, anonymization, and data governance. So this was my last slide, and over to you, Anna.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Afsane, for reminding us the key elements in ensuring privacy, confidentiality, and security, as well as it was quite enlightening to see some good practices in our region, the Asia and the Pacific, on keeping admin data private and secure. So we have a few questions already. Let me start with the commendation from Zainab Saeed that he has heard many good things about the Department of Statistics from Singapore. It feels great to be part of this, listening to the remarkable presentation, and he thanks Yao Lip, Esther. I guess my first question would be for Yao Lip. What are the best practices for using cloud services to store confidential statistical data, particularly in the context where internal security systems are not fully established yet?
Okay, I saw these questions. I think I may need to get back to my technical colleagues to get more details for you. But in Singapore, we have this government agency that is centralized to develop this cloud platform for all government agency to build their system. So probably I'll get a bit more information on what are the practices that they have in place to have a secure environment for us. Yeah.
Thank you. No worries about that. In the case of Singapore, when was it actually identified that an MOU is necessary in terms of data exchange?
Okay, so because we work on Stats Act and PSGA, so usually we don't really have MOU. It's really based on these two legislations that most of the government agency will have to comply and provide to us because it's a legislation. Yeah, so what we face a bit of challenges is not that they don't provide us data, is how timely they can provide us the data. And also, of course, the data formats and the data content that is according to what we need. Yeah.
Thank you for that. How about you, Afsane? Like in your experience in, especially in like assisting countries, when do you think like an MOU is necessary for data sharing?
Okay, so as you also mentioned, I work on the use of admin data for censuses. So what I have learned when I worked in the NSO and also since when I'm working in SCAP is that we here talked about the legal frameworks. And there are there should be something in the Statistics Act that helps the NSO to reach out to the other agencies, admin data holders to have access to micro level data for example, for census purposes. It can be aggregated for the other purposes, but for the register-based census or register-based statistics, we need to have microdata. But this legal framework is never enough. So we cannot say that we have it in the law. So okay, we can also enforce it. So having access to data is kind of, as my colleague Esther mentioned rightly, it's kind of to be some sort of win-win between the agencies. So you cannot force an agency to share data with you. It is kind of collaboration partnership. But we should have in mind that for statistics, as I also mentioned, we have confidentiality principle in the fundamental principles of official statistics, and it should be also reflected in the statistical acts of different countries. So whatever is shared with the NSO cannot be shared back with anyone at the individual level. So you may receive individual level data from agencies, but you are not allowed to share back individual level data with them. So I saw also my colleagues mention that they have some meetings where they share the feedback on quality issues, on the matters that they have seen in the data. So having in mind that it is one-way traffic of micro-level data from any agency to NSO, but the NSO can share back feedback on quality, aggregated data. They can sit together. The best thing that mentioned my colleague from Singapore, having a constant collaboration, being engaged together, working just like a team together, also enhancing the capacity of admin data agencies, that how they can do the coding of their records, the classification. You know that NSO can help them learn how to have statistical outputs from their data for their own use, how they can code their data, how they can resolve the quality issues that they have seen NSO has discovered when playing with the data. So it should be win-win, and this can be through MOUs. So it is not any organization on top of the other that orders the other. No, it's a collaboration, partnership between the agencies together. Let us make the best use of data that our country has, but we should consider privacy. We should make sure that we do not breach the confidentiality. Over
Thank
to
you.
you.
Thank you, Afsane, for the reminder that it has to be a mutual understanding and mutual benefit to across the agencies. Yalip, there are a lot of a few technical questions here. Could you please share with us the content of the unique identifier code used by your country? What are the variables from the unique ID?
Yeah, so we are for Singapore citizens and permanent residents in Singapore, we are issued with a 9-digit ID. So the first digit is actually the alpha. So it's either for Singapore citizens and PR, it will be either a S or T. So for people that is born before year 2000, it will be a S. For people that born after year 2000, it is a T. And then the seven digit is more of a unique number to individual. And the last alpha, the ninth digit, which is the alpha, is a check digit for the first eight digit. Yeah.
I see. And there's also a question on, could you share an overview of how DOS leverages AI and machine learning to extract, process, and transform unstructured data into usable outputs?
Okay, so for example, one of the techniques I think is also quite common throughout NSO would be the web scraping. We do have divisions that need data from the website, so they will explore different techniques on web scraping. We have classifications problems, for instance, text information which is unstructured, and then how we classify this text information. Then we will be using ML algorithm. We will also use LLM. For instance, one of the processes for, especially now we are going towards Singapore, Department of Science is going towards a more open source coding. We are using largely on Python coding. So we are making use a lot of LLM chatbot to help us in the building up the scripts. We are also using LLM to help in RPA, for instance. Yeah.
Oh, and this actually also answers one of the questions on, is AI making things better for data exchange? So that's good. And in Singapore, how do you work if your local or rural areas have network challenges in terms of data sharing? Would
Network
you
challenge.
know? Yes. I guess
Network
internet
challenge. Oh, yeah,
connection.
yeah, yeah. I saw that question. Is the rural and the so because Singapore is very small,
So yeah.
Singapore has no rural area. We are all urban. So unfortunately, we don't really have this problem. Yeah.
A very good situation. For
Yeah.
Afsane, statistical office needs data according to international classifications, but most of the administrative data would most of the offices or agencies would collect data according to their needs. So with that, how do you see that this is resolved?
Okay, I can share, and I think that maybe Singapore colleague may also have something to add to it. As my colleague mentioned, that interoperability is one of the challenges. So we are talking about that, how we can have access to data, and we think that if we have access to data, then it is the heaven, but it is not actually. It is the start of the problems. So one of the things is that the agencies, they collect data based on their purposes. It is not only the coding classification, it is many other things. And we cannot force them to produce it in the way that we want it. For some of the things, for example, when we are talking about ISIC, it can make sense that we convince them to add ISIC in their own databases, because it is also helpful to them as well. But there are many other things that doesn't make sense to them for just changing it. And one of the things is that how we can harmonize. So we need to know it is not only classifications, many things. So we talk about the concepts, definitions, classifications, geographical areas, and the reference period. So that the word of admin data is completely a different word, and statistical official statistic wants to use the data. So we should sit together. We should see that what are the differences and how much these differences impact what we want to produce as official statistics, and how we can resolve it, and how much of it we can just neglect. So what we say, it is harmonizing, and we cannot say that we should have exactly the same thing from what they should produce whatever we want. But there are some places that we can coordinate together, so we can help each other. Sometimes it doesn't make any problem for them if they make some changes to the data they are collecting to help with the production of official statistics. Sometimes the NSO can influence, for example, that you are collecting this, if you can also add this one, or if you can change it a little bit without compromising their own objectives, that can help the NSO. And again, what we said, that this is a partnership, should work together if you want to use admin data, and it is constant relationship. It's not just on and off relationship. So maybe I don't know, would you like also to come in? Yeah,
I absolutely agree. Yeah. So just a few points to add on. Yeah, we definitely difficult to force them. It is impossible, definitely. But we have a rich wide range of admin data. So what we can do is to understand the limitation and see whether different sets of administrative data can come together and fill up the different gaps. So different agency collect data according to their administrative purpose for certain target group. So we probably can gather a few more possible administrative data and form the, if your requirement is to form the general population, then you probably have to find different administrative data to fill up the gap. Another comment is we try to squeeze as much information from the admin data set, meaning that after you get the different data set together, you see whether you can derive more information. So with the power of data fusion together, you're probably able to infer more information from the so-called the data fused data set. Yeah, that's how we always say we try to squeeze out information from the raw data set. Yeah.
Thank you for that. And I guess since we're already a little bit past 5, maybe one more question. We can entertain one more question. The one from Indonesia, that in the case of Indonesia, consistent unique identifiers are not available across data sets. In such situations, what are the recommended approaches, or maybe in your experience, what are the approaches that you have adopted in conducting data linkage to ensure accuracy while minimizing false matches and mismatch?
you want which of
yeah,
us
both
come
of
in?
them. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
so maybe Yaulip first and then Afsane.
Okay.
So we do, as in Singapore context, most of our administrative data do have a unique identifier, but we do experience some data set that doesn't really have. So what we adopt is string comparison techniques. It's mainly a combination. I think it's quite common nowadays. It's mainly the combination of deterministic approach and the probabilistic approach. Yeah, so deterministic approach is mainly the rule-based approach where certain variables are built are built together to differ this individual. And probabilistic matching is more like, for instance, the name of an individual person's, whether you can infer that person's of that individual person. And of course, we know that name can be common. So you could then add on other variables like the birthday, the gender, where they stay, and then this will form a powerful methods to infer an individual. Yeah.
Thank you, Yalip. And Afsane, in your experience in the region, what are the usual approaches adopted?
Yeah, I think that Yalip mentioned rightly that what are the approaches. So whenever we have the unique identifier, we can use it. But if it is not available, we can use a combination of the identification variables like the name, birth date, and other things that are available, and use all of them. And we can use the probabilistic by just seeing the similarity of this combination with the other one that is available from the other data. So yeah, I think that what she said is complete. And if it is, if you don't have anything on this one, I wanted to share something with the group. Is it okay now?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yes. Please.
Because AI came up, so I thought that it would be helpful to let colleagues know that SCAP has already started compiling some repository for the case studies on AI for official statistics. I shared the link, and colleagues can take a look afterwards and see. Yeah, and if they have any questions, they can reach out, and I can connect them with my colleague who is leading this work.
Thank you for sharing that reference. And we're a little bit over time now, so we'll close the Q&A session. For those questions that are unanswered, we'll try to communicate it with the expert and get back to you on that. So we would like to thank the experts, resource persons, Yaolip Tan and Afsane Yazdani, for your time in preparing and delivering the presentation, answering the questions, and sharing your insights and knowledge on experiences. So before we close, allow me to take a few minutes of your time for to give a few reminders on the course. So this week, please complete modules 5 and 6. And on Monday, April 27, we will open the final assessment test. You will have 60 minutes to complete 25 multiple choice questions, and you will be given 3 attempts to take the test, retaining the highest score among the attempts. You must get a passing grade of 70% or higher to be able to get a certificate. And I know some of you might have taken the online course in French. Unfortunately, the test is in English. After the exam, we would appreciate if you could provide us some feedback on the e-learning course. Just a reminder that the rating is where the strongly disagree has the lowest score and the strongly agree has the highest score. And then lastly, your certificate of completion will be available to download once you complete all of the activities on or before May 8th. So after May 8th, the course will be closed and you will not be able to access the materials. So I hope we'll try to email as well these reminders. With that, on behalf of SIAP and our partners, UNSD and the Collaborative on Administrative Data, our deepest gratitude to all of the presenters, especially today, Yaolip and Afsane, and to our co-facilitators and colleagues who have helped us in administering this e-learning course, Martina De Saverio, Zenobian Luni, Sokol Vaco, Christophe Bonton, Juan Lee, Tomoko Yanizawa, and all our resource persons in the past 2 weeks as well. Finally, we would like to thank the 515 participants today for actively interacting with our speakers and with each other. So we saw that Ghana has also been sharing their experience. We hope to see you in future CEP courses and we'll close the session now and thank you and goodbye.